Have you ever been there? You've spent hours, maybe even days studying. You're highlighting, you're rereading, you feel like you're putting in all the work. But then, when it actually matters, it's just gone. If that feeling of frustration sounds familiar, then you are in exactly the right place. We're about to totally transform your study habits by digging into the science of how our brains actually learn.
Oh, this feeling, it is a total gut punch, isn't it? You stare at the question and there's just nothing. It's not just you, I promise. This happens to almost everyone, and it leads to that awful little voice in your head that whispers, "See, I'm just not smart enough." But what if I told you that voice is completely, totally wrong?
You see, the problem isn't your intelligence. Not at all. It's a very specific and kind of deceptive trap that our brains fall into all the time. So let's break down what's really going on here.
And here it is. This is the heart of the issue, the illusion of competence. It's that tricky moment where your brain mistakes the feeling of familiarity for the reality of understanding. You know, when you glance at a concept in your notes and think, "Oh yeah, I know that." That is a world away from being able to recall it and apply it from scratch.
So let's get this straight right here, right now. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your brain. You are not bad at studying. You've just been using the wrong tools for the job. Your method is what's broken. And the really good news? Methods can be fixed.
Think about it like this. All that passive studying, like rereading your notes over and over or highlighting everything, it's basically the academic version of going to the gym and just watching someone else lift weights and then hoping you'll get stronger. I mean, it feels easy. It even feels productive. But there's no struggle. And if there's no struggle, there's no growth. Real learning only happens when you do the heavy lifting yourself. So how do we start lifting those weights ourselves? Well, it takes a pretty big shift in mindset. It's time to stop just observing and start actually navigating. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you're a passenger in a car. The route seems pretty clear, right? You're just watching it all go by. But what if you had to drive that same route yourself the next day? You'd probably get lost. That's because being a passenger is passive. The driver, on the other hand, is actively engaged, they're making decisions, they're building a mental map. Most of our old study habits put us squarely in the passenger seat. And this is the whole point. We have to get you out of that passenger seat and put you behind the wheel. And the key that turns the ignition for your brain is a powerful technique called active recall. Now, active recall is the foundation, but we're going to build on it with two other incredibly powerful techniques. Together, these three keys are going to unlock a way more effective and way less frustrating way to learn. All right, here's our roadmap. First up, we're going to master active recall. That's the art of pulling information out of your brain. Then we'll use something called the explanation technique to prove we actually get it. And finally, we'll perfect our timing with the spacing effect. Let's start with key number 1. Okay, let's talk about active recall. It sounds kind of technical, but trust me, it's incredibly simple. After you read a chapter or watch a lecture, just stop. Close the book, look away from the screen, and force your brain to answer the question, what were the main ideas here? And no peeking. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is going to feel hard. It might even feel a little frustrating. And that is a good thing. That feeling of struggle, that mental friction while you're searching for an answer, that is the exact moment learning is happening. You are literally forcing your brain to build a connection. And here's what's actually happening inside your head. Every single time you successfully recall something, you make that neural connection stronger. It's like you're turning a faint little dirt path in your brain into a paved, multi-lane superhighway that makes the information so much easier to access the next time you need it. Okay, on to our second key. See, it's not enough to just pull information out of your head. You have to prove you truly understand it. And the ultimate test for this is the explanation technique. The idea is simple. If you can't explain a concept in your own simple words without all the jargon, you probably don't get it yet. Memorization is fragile, but true understanding, that's forever. So, for example, don't just list the parts of a biological cell. Explain it using an analogy. You could even say it out loud, like you're talking to a friend. Describe the cell as this tiny little city where all the different parts have jobs. This process instantly shows you where the gaps in your knowledge are. You're not guessing anymore. You're actively finding out what you need to go back and review. And finally, let's talk about timing with our third key. We often treat our brains like a bucket that we can just cram full of information the night before a test. But
What happens when you overfill a bucket? It spills everywhere. The information doesn't stick. And that's because our brain doesn't work that way. Your brain isn't a bucket, it's a muscle. And just like any muscle, it needs rest between workouts to grow stronger.
This is called the spacing effect, and the research on this is crystal clear. 5 hours of studying crammed into one frantic night is way less effective than the exact same amount of time, 5 separate 1-hour sessions spread across the week. Spacing gives your brain the downtime it needs to consolidate memories, moving them from short-term to long-term storage while you sleep. It's a definition of working smarter, not just harder.
So, now that we have the map, I want to leave you with a completely new way to think about this whole process of learning. Please let this one sink in. That feeling of difficulty when you're trying to recall something, that is not a sign that you're failing. It is the physical sensation of your brain forging new connections. It's the feeling of getting stronger. It is the literal evidence of growth. So please, don't ever let our broken method convince you that you're broken. You have the hardware. You absolutely have the intelligence. You have the drive to do the work. You were just navigating without a map, and now you have one. Start today. Test yourself instead of just rereading. Explain concepts instead of just memorizing them, and trust that the struggle is your greatest ally on this journey. The road ahead is yours. Now go conquer it.